What is rusty?
My Harry Potter knowledge. I read the
Ah,
first book
okay.
and I watched the movies, but I never had that depth of whatever. We'll see.
Well, this metaphor works very, very well. The people are like,
Uh-huh.
"Whoa, that's mind blowing," and it fits so well. So I thought I might bring it here and
Enlighten me. You're listening to What's Your Baseline? The show where we unpack the real world of enterprise architecture, process management, and everything that helps you build a smarter organization. We talk tools, techniques, and tough lessons learned, so you don't have to learn it the hard way. My name is Roland. Grab a coffee. Let's go into it. Hey, Regina, how are you doing today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing well, even though today I do this podcast without adult supervision. Again, that's a little bit tricky because obviously our audience is used to have multiple hosts here. And for whatever reason, I ran out of hosts. I need to...
No worries.
I guess I need to look around to find more. But hey, even more, you get my full attention, or I get yours, whatever. So welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. But maybe to set it a little bit in a frame, today we're going to talk about those super boring topic of quality management and all those naysayers. And I forgot the role. I need to read it up in our little notes, who you compare quality management people to. But I guess we're going to get to this point. And obviously we want to draw the connection to the process topic, to the knowledge topic, and how things come together, because I assume a lot of our audiences has been or was involved with QM exercise before, obviously the infamous audit, so that the company can put the checkbox on whatever marketing material. But maybe before we get started with the topic, maybe you talk a little bit about you. So sure. Who are you?
Hi, I'm Regina. I'm 36 years old, and I help quality managers move from being perceived as annoying, as you said, to becoming enablers. So the topic I'm bringing to the table today is, I think, interesting for BPM people as well, because it has a lot to do with process adoption rates in the end. So, well, since 2023, I'm happily employed at Modell Aachen, a company that has the vision to create interactive management systems and provides the software and consulting for this. We're around about 70 people at the moment and grow heavily. My part is being loud on LinkedIn. This is how we got in contact for our topic, and I recurringly succeed in doing so. And especially when I post about the downsides of management systems, process modeling, and quality management. So I have quite a few follower by now, and mostly from quality management, but also BPM people. And with these people, I really enjoy talking virtually via Teams or on conferences, actually, to find out what is it that makes quality management succeed and what is it that sometimes stands in the way. So that's basically what I'm doing here, talking about why quality management is such an unpleasant job, at least in a lot of companies, and how this role can change from inside out, from someone who's chasing other people and basically annoying them, into someone who enables people to work seamlessly together, and see why it's useful to talk about processes.
Well, before we get into the deep stuff, maybe we can talk a little bit about yourself. What have you done in the past? What were your key experiences? What are your bucket list items? Something that our audience get to know you a little bit better before we go into that. I think, without any sarcasm, interesting topic.
I try to keep it short. What have I done in the past? When I finished school, okay, I'm going back further than I wanted, but when I finished school, I was absolutely into music. I loved playing and singing on stage. I always thought that someday I'll become a manager of an artist or a manager of a great venue where awesome concerts take place, because I love creating emotions and inspiring people. That's why I studied popular music and media, and in my master, international arts management. And during my studies, I always worked to earn some money. I actually earned my own money since I was 16 and giving guitar lessons. So in this job during my studies, I had there was an advertising. We did audio productions with voice talents all over the world. We were growing really fast, and it was so much fun that I somehow stuck with it. I like this fast-paced environment where quick decisions were made, and I was able to make things possible for clients, creating impact. And always putting clients first. That's what I learned there. And my role was in sales, and I was successful. So I got promoted to a team lead role with 26. And in retrospect, I'd say that was very early. But the team was really young, and I found my way to manage, in the end, a team of 15 people. And being a team lead, I suddenly had new tasks like creating onboarding structures, making sure it's not a major showstopper when someone's falling ill and others have to take over, or creating good workflows between the production department and the sales and project management department. So creating good processes. And this job fulfilled me for 9 years. I learned a lot about why people hate to document, why people hate to talk about processes, and why my biggest mistake was to regard documentation as my duty as a leader.
Oh, you don't need this anymore. We got AI for this. You just
Yeah,
press
sure.
the button,
AI
press
will
the easy
solve
button.
everything.
Yeah, it solves everything. Yes.
Well, we see. But you asked for my key experiences. So there are two which I could share. The first one is in my first job, where we were still a tiny team. I was quite new, and we had this one guy. His name was Patrick. In case you're accidentally listening today,
Shall we say names? Ooh.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. He's a good guy. I'm not going to say
Okay.
anything bad about him. And his brain was a data center for knowing which voice talent worked well in which setting or type of job. Like e-learning, advertising, corporate movies need different skills. So he was always the guy being asked, Patrick, who do you suggest for the job? And he knew, we all knew this was dangerous, but we didn't tackle the problem. Then one day, we had a big production. Patrick was on vacation for a couple of weeks already, so he didn't help with the selection of the voice talents. And of course, we messed it all up. The voice talent wasn't able to perform, the client unhappy, everybody stressed to make it work within this tough deadline. And when Patrick returned from his vacation and we told him about this fuck up, he laughed. He said, why would you choose that guy for that job? He can't do it at all. So I could have told you so. Yeah. And that was the point when we introduced a learning system. After every recording, sound engineers had to rate the voice talent in several categories. And this was our way to making knowledge accessible.
You're taking away my job. I will not support you with that because, employability and so on.
Well, it made all our lives easier, so we were not taking away any job.
Yeah, of course.
Another key experience, back in the days when I was a team lead, I put together an onboarding plan for a new colleague. She was very eager to learn. We had a lot of content to show her, but she was puzzled. It didn't make sense as a whole. So it provided no good structure. She messed up a lot because she didn't get how the intersections work together. But after 2 or 3 months, she came to me and said, okay, now this is starting to make sense. I get the bigger picture now. And I was happy that she made this progress. But as a leader, I felt like I failed. I wasn't able to give her this big picture of how we work. And that is why I'm really demanding with process documentation nowadays and the structure of it. It needs to help the people, not serve an ISO certification. The certification, at least 9001, is a byproduct, I think, if you do it right.
Well, I'm pretty sure there are people out there who disagree, but yes.
Well, that's my take on it.
So, maybe last thing, and I don't want to stray it out too much, on a personal side, I know you mentioned in our little pre-thing, you have a little camper, which also has a little soft spot in my heart, on this. But what are your hobbies? What
Mhm.
is it? Like I said, the bucket list item. What do you want to do outside of work? Because we will talk the rest of the show about work
Yeah,
stuff.
sure. Well, I'm a nature lover and a family person. And it might sound a bit cliche, but I enjoy camping with our cute little caravan, going for a little hike with my kids in the morning, playing my guitar in the afternoon, going for stand-up paddling during sunset, and letting all those mosquitoes bite me because I always forget putting on the repellent. What's on my bucket list? Well, I already skydived, I bungee jumped, did if you might know it, the Via Alta one in the Dolomites, which is a fantastic hiking route. I can recommend that for 10 days from hut to hut. It's the most beautiful part of the Alps. A bit, yes. Yes, you have to be fit, but it's okay. No climbing, just hiking. So what's still on my bucket list? Traveling to the Lofoten with my husband and kids, which is a coastal part in northern Norway. For those who don't know it, there's steep mountains and fjords and beautiful beaches. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's about
Yeah.
me.
Well, send photos. Send photos. I'm looking forward to that. I've
I will.
never been there, but Norway is beautiful. So
Yeah.
yes, send photos. But let's go to the topic, and as you know, we typically, and I don't want to put you in any prefix structure,
Mhm.
but typically our shows are a why in the first part and the how in the second part of the show. So you mentioned the QM certification is a byproduct, this is not my experience in organizations. It's a big thing, if you're a software company and you can't literally, without any irony here, you can put the check mark on and say, oh yeah, we're going to comply with these standards and SOC 2 and ISO and whatever, right? You do the buzzword bingo or abbreviation bingo here. But for them, it's really important. It's like a major milestone, and I'm pretty sure some people's lives have been miserable for quite a time to get this wonderful certification. But since you're working in that field, what is your take on that whole situation?
I think these certifications are for sure important. But as I said, they should be a byproduct because it perverts the why of quality management. And when a certificate becomes the why of quality management, then there's no good answer to the question, what's in it for me, for the employees? If they only do it for the certification and not for themselves, for let's work more smoothly together, then they have no real intrinsic motivation for this.
If you would take a poll, obviously after they work with you, obviously their mind has changed, but before they work with you, your clients, what is the attitude that you see? Is it like 50-50? Is it 20-80, who just aim for the certificate versus people who actually want to improve the quality of their products?
Well, mostly I'd say the organization
Mhm.
regards the certificate as the why, but quality managers are a step further already. They don't want this to be the why, but they don't know how to get out of this role they are being pushed into, right? So that's the issue. They are. A few weeks ago, I had a call with a quality manager, and she said, "We don't feel the quality department. We don't feel here at home anymore. They feel like They feel alienated in this company because they can't have impact the way they want it."
That's not great.
No, it's a terrible role. They are
To
stuck
say
in it.
least, yeah. So how do they see themselves, right? Versus how are they seen?
Yeah. I've brought a little metaphor or riddle for you.
Oh yeah.
If Let's see how this works. If Hogwarts, right, the school for magic, if Hogwarts were a company, who would you say quality management would be?
Is there some teacher who's tasked with whipping people into line, to say this is how it goes, Is that
Sort of.
is that a role?
Well, when I ask quality managers these questions,
Mhm.
which I did in a webinar 1 year ago, most of them answered, "Oh, we are Hermione.
What?
She's smart, best in class, always prepared. The person who actually read the whole book, understands the rules, and genuinely wants to do the right thing." And I get it. That's how many quality people see themselves. But the twist is, in a lot of companies, as we already found out, quality management is not perceived as Hermione. It's more perceived like Argus Filch. He's the housekeeper of Hogwarts. And Filch is the guy who's constantly chasing poltergeists, meaning, like, the auditor is coming next week. We need to update the processes. He cleans up messes when he didn't catch the culprit, saying, and who's allowed to implement the corrective actions in the end? Well, quality department.
The
And he tries
the
to
housekeeper.
enforce the castle rules with an iron hand, saying,
Mm.
so quality management can say, yes, but the standard doesn't allow that. And on top of that, he gets very little recognition for what he does. So
Mhm.
the real problem is this gap between identity and perception.
Mhm.
Quality management wants to be Hermione, but the organization often experiences quality management as Filch. And that's exactly why quality management can feel like such an unpleasant job, and why the role needs to evolve. In classic quality management, the management system's why is the certificate, as we said.
Mhm.
So people experience it as compliance, not as help in their daily routines. That's why usage peaks before audits and drops afterwards. It's event driven, not
Yeah.
value driven. And if the system isn't helpful in daily work, people don't invest attention, and quality management ends up pushing alone. And this creates the image problem. Quality management gets associated with extra work instead of making work easier. Yeah. And that's the filter mode, right? So quality management shows up when rules must be enforced. So people don't love to see you.
Yeah, I can. Well, I don't know if you need confirmation, but I can confirm that observation. I worked in a company way back when, and we had a product called QM Scout. Which was actually aimed with the idea to say, hey, we're going to do process management. QM is basically the other side of the coin. You just look at things from a different angle, slightly, on this. But I've also been part of the QM certifications that we did there, and they loved what we did. Like setting up little wikis. A different one that you're working with.
Yeah.
But anyway, and the TÜV auditor was very very impressed. Like, oh, you're doing this, and it's continuous improvement, and yada yada yada. So I can see that, but that was triggered by, I think, that the genuine interest to make things better, right? Better
Yeah, that's
in
good.
our consulting delivery, just to figure out, okay, we do have a place to go to see, oh, which clients have we worked with? What have we done with them? Maybe take a nugget or two out of this, those prime deliverables to say, oh yeah, this is actually best practice, to do those things. So I can see that, but to come back to the story of the QM Scout, there was not that uplifting spirit in our clients. You know what I mean? They weren't as excited as we might have been about this. So, how do you see a QM manager's role? Actually, well, quality manager. Okay, a QM manager's role in this game.
Mm.
Um, Are they the people who drive change, or are they more the housekeeper, as you mentioned it, with my lack of Harry Potter
Yeah.
knowledge?
Well, most want to drive change,
Mhm.
but they're not allowed to. I think the role is stuck pretty much because quality management becomes the scribbler. I didn't
Mhm.
find a better translation. So in German, it's Schreiberling.
Mhm.
And they lose influence. They believe well, maybe they sort of stick to old beliefs as well, thinking I am responsible for process documentation, and this is a career killer because it makes quality management the bottleneck.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what you experienced in your past jobs, but in most companies, when I ask on LinkedIn, sometimes on Sundays, I ask questions to my audience, and mostly quality managers answer. So I asked, who designs processes in your company? And the answers were 26% department heads, 21% employees, at least. But 45% said, well, it's only process and quality management team. And so if it's only quality management and process management who write, then they'll own it as well. The departments
Yeah.
always stay passive and don't emotionally commit. So basically, almost every second company, well, it's not
That is interesting.
representative at all what I do
Yeah.
right there on LinkedIn, but I guess every second company creates this bottleneck. Quality and process management is the bottleneck for designing processes.
Yeah, I've not seen that. So maybe it's just my bias, or the type of projects and clients I work with.
Mm.
For me, they fell into three buckets. And I hope I get the three right. So one is business units who actually really want to do something, who said, okay, we've realized what we're doing is not efficient. We need to get improvement in there. And then you do things like process mining to get insights and whatever, right?
Mm.
The second big group that I see is IT departments. But that might be because those tools will be typically sold to IT departments, right? So you're talking about solution design and systems implementations, these type of things. I barely see quality management. This is where I find it really interesting. Funny enough, I don't see the people take it really seriously. It depends on their maturity. That they draft a process diagram and they say, "Oh, we're done, all good." And that might be a similar experience than your audience
Yeah.
has seen. Yeah.
Well, I am mostly speaking to quality managers working in like machinery companies, producing anything like machines or stuff, and well, sometimes also in social branches as well.
Hmm.
But they all, well, they are individuals. They have all different companies, but they face a similar issue, and that is they are being appointed to this role of the scribbler, and
Hmm.
they don't find their way out of this. And as long as it's not possible for others to really engage with their processes, like you mentioned the best practice that has to flow into processes, process documentation.
Hmm.
That's in most companies it's not possible right now,
Hmm.
and it's just high level documentation, and that's also a reason why
Yeah.
people don't look at it, because it doesn't help in daily life.
Yeah. And I see, I'm not that old, but I remember the third group, right? Which fits maybe into your realm. That's the people who do risk and compliance.
Yeah.
That seems to be a big thing, especially in regulatory heavy environments, finance, pharma, these type of industries. What I find really astonishing is that then the risk groups take over that job. And that's why that might be the same thing, like, oh yeah, we need processes, right? Because we want to audit
Mm.
processes and all that. So I think it's the same pattern, right? I see not that company that I work for, but one of their competition now creating AI-driven process documentation, listening into conversations, creating SOPs and creating diagrams from it. I thought, okay, but why you? Shouldn't the business be responsible for this? Because they actually live and breathe these things every day, But if I hear you correctly, the mindset is more like, no. We gotta check the box, if somebody's looking over our shoulder, we better have our act together. Is
Yeah.
that your experience?
Mm, at least the mindset of the organization. Well, quality
Hmm.
department does not want it to be that way, but the organization feels like The audit is coming, so we have to clean it all up, get reality and documentation aligned again for
Mm-hmm.
1 week or so, maybe 1 month if they're lucky, and then it's drifting away from each other again, reality and documentation, and that's highly inefficient, I think.
I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. Yeah. So how do the people in those QM departments then solve that problem? Because obviously, you don't want to be just the hero for one day in 365 days of a year, or how often you have to get recertified, maybe every couple of years. But you want to have obviously a satisfactory work life, to do some meaningful things there. How do they handle that situation? What do they do to change that? I don't know, perception, status, put in the
Mhm.
word of your choice.
Well, I feel like they are trying and
Mhm.
trying to reach out to companies who can help them with that issue. So they're trying to get consultants in house and look for ways to make the process documentation more user friendly. So that is a trend that I can observe. And on the other side, what I'm working at Modell Aachen, we have a tool, and of course we feel like, okay, there's the demand for a tool like that is growing,
Mhm.
and so that's what I feel they are doing. But they often get stuck, or they have problems with communicating or pitching this project internally to their
Mhm.
CEOs. Because sometimes they don't manage to find the right words for this, and their argumentation is very focused on their personal benefits of such a tool, but not on the global benefits for the company. And this is a big
Mhm.
issue. So I think they're trying a
Is it
lot, but they struggle.
is it a lack of allies? Is it
Yes, definitely, definitely.
so? Where would you, and I don't want to go into the how right now, but maybe give a little teaser before we take a little break. Where would you think are the natural allies of those QM people are? In the organization, who would you, if you were in their shoes, who
Mm.
would you reach out and try to get onto your team?
Well, first of all, in a lot of companies that I'm talking to, quality departments do not talk too much with process departments. So
Mhm.
BPM people and quality people, they look at the same issue but from a different perspective, and I think they have to align further.
Mhm.
Um, and next, well, IT is always good to have on board. If you try to get away from Word and Excel, um,
Mhm.
you have to align with IT and see what they can do. If I have the hypothesis that a more user-friendly approach to process documentation would help, then I would go to an intersection that is really painful at the moment and try to help these people there. Like, okay, let's do a process workshop, and we're going to model it, maybe not with BPMN because this process is for humans, and we try to find a way that you can work with each other more smoothly. Yeah, I would try to create success stories and thus thereby gaining, how do you say that? What was it? Allies. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
Blasphemy again, no BPMN, Regina. I'm looking into the abyss, But
not for
having said
everything, not
that,
for everything.
having said that, dear audience, we're approaching the 30-minute mark. That's typically a sign of,
Already.
um, yeah, that's
I'm
typically a
sorry.
sign of we should take a little break, just to decompress. But as always, I don't want to let you go into a break and forget what Regina and I spoke about in the last 30 minutes ish. But I want you to think about how is that topic located in your organization? Do you have the same observation that Regina has or that I have, or do you have a different one? How do quality people in your organization interact, and how do they or do not create impact in them? And with that, we'll leave you for a little moment and we come back to a second segment with the how do we get this into an organization.
Love won't let you down, won't let you down. Yeah, hey, hey, yeah. I need your love, won't let you down. Hey, yeah. I need your love, won't let you down, won't let you down.
Yeah, welcome back. Regina, very, very interesting conversation. Obviously, you come with a slightly different perspective than I have and maybe our audience has, but it's nevertheless interesting and important. Maybe we get a little bit into the how, So I've seen different things in the past. I've seen organizations who had a very strict top-down approach to process management. We buy the tool, we define the rules, and you just work your stuff on level so and so, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen bottom up people who felt the pain and said, "Oh, I'm so happy that we now buy a tool because look at my notes, and my scribbles and all that type of stuff."
Mm-hmm.
What is your experience? And obviously also in your current role, your company's experience when it comes to those topics of mapping out what we do and how we get the most out of it.
I think there are a couple of levers that you can pull to make this happen, to make this role change for QM happen. The first one I see is decentralized creation. So you have to build a platform where content isn't created centrally. So getting quality management out of this scribbler role. Like, we don't need a more efficient Filch. We need a different role design. And this comes in with a new system concept. So step one is decentrality. Create a platform where content does not originate centrally. So you have to replace your belief of I write your processes with I coach you and make it easy for you to write them.
Hold on, just to understand it. You want to decentralize the task of creating processes to the place where the people who do the processes
Where it happens.
You're not talking about you want to have 25 million different tools and everybody does
no.
does whatever they want.
It should be in one platform. Because otherwise we have these breaks, media
Silos.
breaks, silos as well, and people can't look into other departments' processes, and they don't know which input do they need from us, or which output. Well, that's always difficult. So I would just say, let the people really be the ones who can change their processes by themselves, not like, oh, I write an email to quality management and quality management will ping pong with me in a very inefficient way. So just let them write themselves and just give the final, okay, that's fine for me.
Yeah, I've seen that in the past in organizations where they put a central modeling team in place. So you as the business unit were just supposed to give your input, and then you receive the service of getting a diagram or whatever.
Yeah.
The problem was it took half a year until any minor change has been put in, because obviously who's going to pay for those guys? They're expensive, and then people were complaining about, why does it take so long? We've changed our process 3 times since we submitted this change request, It's like, duh. So
and it kills intrinsic motivation, I think. So
for sure.
I mean, how does intrinsic motivation work? You need autonomy, like I can do it on my own. I can decide it. You need self-efficacy. I think that's the right way to pronounce it, which says, I'm proud to see my impact. I improved the process. And you need social integration. That's like, well, I see that my work is important for others. I see that the change I made to the process is helping others. So if we want to foster intrinsic motivation for work on processes, giving everyone in the organization the possibility to write and make suggestions, that's, I think, the right way.
So I hear two things. I agree with your 3 criteria, by the way. I think everybody should have agency in what they do, right? We get trained from little on to ask for permission. First it's your mom,
Yes.
then it's your teacher, and then it's your boss, and then you retire and you have only your dog to yell at. That's sad. That's sad. When you think about it, put yourself into the shoes of the people working in those processes. Is it just another chore, or what is in it for them? They put all that effort in there. They try to document what they do, and as you rightfully said in the first half, oh yeah, it's for the audit. We've done it. Permission. The teacher gives us a pat on the back. You were a good student, Regina. How do you approach the motivational aspect for those people who do that? Because if I understand you correctly, the role of the QM people should be the role of the facilitator,
Yes.
the enabler,
Enabler,
the trainer, these type of things. But you need to give them, the people who do the actual work, something more than, oh, good job, we succeeded in the audit. So what is in for them?
That's the central question, right? What's in it for me? That's always a bit different, I would say. And in sales, we would say the value proposition that such a system or owning processes like that would bring. We once had a webinar with a client of ours. That was, I think, one year ago. And she was a fantastic quality manager, and she rolled out this interactive management system. And their sales team, the ones driving to the clients, being on the road all the time, they were the ones who used it most. And she did that by always asking the question, "What do you need?" So I think it's focusing on the needs of is addressee the right word for this? I think yes. So focusing on the ones who's supposed to read it, supposed to work with it, and the answer to this question can be very different. I think sometimes it's we have to onboard a lot of colleagues in the upcoming 1 or 2 years. So then my benefit would be I don't have to answer too many questions, and they're always being the same questions. So that would be a big benefit for me. For others, it might be we can reduce the errors in this process. We once had a client in the webinar. They said, back in the days, we had issues with recurring customer complaints.
Yeah.
And by establishing such a learning system where they always, whatever they found out what the issue was with this process, they wrote it down into this system, into the process, and made everybody read it, made everybody use the process while executing it. And that's actually process adoption, right? But thereby they brought these recurring complaints, which occurred once, twice, 3, 4 times. They brought these to 0. So yeah. So I think coming back to your question, I think it's always something different. The value proposition is very. You have to see what is the issue, what are the needs there, or the jobs to be done.
Let's move on a little bit topic wise. If you bought into the value prop, right, and say, oh yeah, that's helpful, I want this, what is your recommendation for organizations who might not have any of those things, and their own employees are all on their own, try to figure out their way and to somehow succeed? What is your recommendation how to get started with this?
I would start with a navigation map. So you should make the management system a guide through the company. When we come back to the metaphor from Harry Potter, which you obviously loved, Take a look at who's.
That's the innocent. That's the well, I know the person. Well, let's say the idiot who doesn't know the stuff. So it's all good.
No. It's okay. It's okay. But looking back on Harry Potter, who's the real enabler there? Which character really helps Harry by offering guidance, like a map? Potterheads might know who I'm hinting at. It's the Weasley brothers, Fred and George. They give Harry a map, and it's basically a map that shows you where you are, where others are, and which hidden paths exist. That's what a management system should do, I think, give orientation in daily work. And that's our blueprint, our how. How can we create value for our organization? How is a management system supposed to be? It's supposed to be a guide, telling us who's doing what here, with whom, and how. So this must be clear at first.
I even understood that. I remembered the red-haired people. So
see.
I'm so proud of myself. Yeah, but yeah, I hear you. I hear you. You want to go and you want to make the hidden knowledge visible. To say, okay, this is how things are done, and don't do this, don't step in the grass. There might be snakes, stay on the trail, do
don't
that type of stuff.
Forbidden forest and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we, when we design this management system, it's good if you think about designing it for the user, like 2 clicks to the answer beats perfectly formatted documentation. Because looking for a document is a frustrating thing, and this can badly affect, in my view, my view of management systems and quality management. Because, let's say, as a salesperson, I see that this is frustrating me, and I don't share much sympathy with the system or tool. It has to be user-friendly. It has to get the user right to what he or she is looking for.
Yeah, I think it shouldn't be a separate thing. I think that's the biggest disconnect that I see, where people say, oh yeah, I actually have work to do, and now I have to create whatever you want me to create. And the better things that I've seen is when it was integrated into their runtime systems, in their day-to-day stuff. So
yes,
one example, similar 20 years ago. So I think it's fine to say, where we integrated our tool with SAP. So when you pressed F1 for help, it didn't show you the standard SAP help. No. It opened our tool. You saw the process, you saw the step in the process where you got stuck, and you could see, oh yeah, I have to go this way or that way. And you literally could start a new transaction from within the process diagram. Right. And that's obviously very helpful. It doesn't work for your example of the sales guy on the road, who needs to obey the traffic laws and drives on the Autobahn with whatever speed, But for a white collar office job, obviously that was very helpful. So I think that the message is, how do you embed it into the day-to-day real work that somebody needs to do?
That's a good question, because we have 2 ways. If we regard the document or the management system as the mountain, and we have the user, that's the prophet. Normally, the user has to walk to the mountain, and but you could make the mountain come to the user as well, to the prophet. We do that by and I think you can do that with a lot of tools as well. It's not just our tool, but just think about it using Chrome extensions. So when I visit any operative system, like my CRM, or when I'm booking train tickets, there's being information pushed on the right side of my browser and telling me, hey, there are processes or guidelines here. You might want to take a look. Hey, these processes are being updated, have been updated. So that's helping me a lot as a user. And from the other perspective, when I'm in the documentation and I want to execute process XYZ, I can just jump from links that are in this process documentation, into tools, templates, responsibilities, interfaces, whatever. Just this is creating so much benefit in my view, and it's not done in too many companies. I don't know why.
I agree. Yeah, well, I agree. The metaphor that I typically see is um, maps. You said navigation map, but I'm
Yeah.
thinking about, oh yeah, you get the big paper maps, and you unfold them, and everybody knows you will never get them folded back again so that it fit in that nice little pouch that they saved a few cents of making it too small. Versus say a Google Maps, where it's interactive, where you get your route from A to B, but then you get all those notifications.
You get the
Oh,
website as
there's a
well in Google Maps, right? You can jump
yeah.
onto the website. It's all there.
Yeah, or you get when you're driving. I'm thinking about driving in the car, and you have whatever Android Auto on, and you get the little pop-ups. Oh, there's a speed trap, or there's a
Yeah.
traffic jam. Hey, there's a better route that saves you 5 minutes. Whatever, right? Making suggestions. I don't see a lot of those in the tools, which I think is a shame.
Yeah.
Right, but
Absolutely.
that would require that you obviously have your process tool or your management system embedded into your runtime systems, right? And I
Mm,
haven't seen a lot of
yeah,
organization who does that.
integrated or at least linked, right? So yeah.
Well, if you want to have the real time, Google Maps style stuff,
Mm.
oh yeah, our vendor is currently experiencing some technical issues, when you're in procurement. For the next 2 hours, you might want to buy from those guys. Here are your alternatives,
Mhm.
dear buyer. If you want to do that type of stuff, obviously you need to have that nervous system there, and I think that's missing. And I don't want to go into the digital twin conversation, but I think that's where it goes to. In my
Yeah.
mind, at least.
Talking about the benefits, another lever can be combining knowledge management and process management. Because in a
Mm-hmm.
lot of companies, these are two separate worlds, basically, and separate tools. But they can it's a perfect match, basically. And here's why: processes lack detail, and they are normally too high level. Processes need detail, and knowledge needs structure. You can enrich process steps with knowledge. It's very easy, I think, and it makes a
Mm-hmm.
big difference regarding relevance and acceptance.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Because well, I wouldn't say it's a perfect match, but if you have a Venn diagram, I guess there's quite some overlap between it because obviously the process gives you the context, and then the knowledge management, the documented knowledge, not the stuff that's in the head of the people, that is
Oh.
obviously helping with the details, if you will.
But you
What
need the
are
stuff in
the
the heads.
rules?
Yeah.
Of course, yeah, because otherwise, how does a human execute that process if they don't know anything?
Yeah. You need to
Then
extract
you could,
the personal routines, right?
yeah, then you could have an AI doing this stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you. I think it's when you think about a Venn diagram, there's quite an overlap in there, right? The question that I have is now, and that's the third time blasphemy, this time from me, how deep should you go? When you go into the diagramming, you end up on a BPMN level, who does what, when, where, I've seen clients who even go a level deeper to say, oh yeah, click here, click here, click here, or
Mhm.
they're using task mining to discover it. Where would you see the
The level.
lower end of those activities? Because, and then I shut up, because if you go to that field level clickety click thing, that's a never ending thankless tasks that you will never be able to succeed, in my opinion.
Mm.
Where do you see that line?
Mm, I think it depends. If the process is running smoothly
Mm-hmm.
and there are no issues, you don't need to go too much into detail.
Mm-hmm.
Except there will be a lot of new onboardings and you might need that. So yeah, right. But if it's running smoothly, don't go into too much detail. But a process that is challenging, that is always producing errors, I would go into very, very much detail there.
Let's bring it back, and we're approaching time, so I'd like to bring us to the last question, which is, if you do all those things, you
Mhm.
obviously create value for the organization. How do you prevent that people don't see it? right? Like the situation that you say in the beginning, we're the good guys. We're doing all that stuff, but people say,
Nobody
yeah,
sees it. Yep.
go back into your cave. We call you once a year, So how do you prevent this, and how do you make it more visible?
Mm. Well, quality departments are really bad at marketing. It's mainly because they are the blue types, if you know the DISC model. And they heavily underestimate the impact of project marketing. So most of the software projects become IT projects, and that's the reason why they don't fly later on. So what I experience in our projects is that it needs internal marketing. So the idea grows in the organization, the idea of a platform that helps us all work together more smoothly. We need to share wins, stories, and use cases. This is what all this project marketing is about. And quality management becomes a value creator. So it's shifting from a cost center to a profit center. This is what the basic shift we need here, and we need to communicate here.
But I also can see the trouble that people have with it. It's on the one hand side, as you said, the lack of, in a good way, lack of marketing skills. I got better things to do. This is more important than this. But it's obviously also the perception of the recipients. What would be your advice? Obviously you work with clients who buy your tool, and I typically say, when I do implementations, I come up with a Venn diagram, which in this case has 3 circles. Right. So on the one hand side, you have content, the things that people want to do, draw processes, do process mining, app rationalization, whatever. Right. The second one that overlaps is you need to define the governance. What are the rules of the road? What are the rules of the engagement? How do we do this? How do we publish? How do we review? How do we do analysis? Whatever, all those things. And then the third one, which is my personal pet peeve, is adoption. How do I get the user to buy into this and be engaged in this? And what are your experiences in rolling out the tools that you have in organizations? What works and what doesn't work?
What works is a clear, transparent, communicated project path. So when you in the beginning communicate a target, and like, we want to get there, and this is why we want to get there. Like, quality people are really bad at talking about their why. They have to do that way more. They're only talking about the how and the what. Like real project management, communicating the timelines, you have to create, how do you say that? Key user groups, which are from different roles, not only quality department, because otherwise it's always still quality who does things.
Yeah.
So we need to at least a handful of people who are key users there. These people need authority and capacity. So it's great when there's only C-level people in this project group, but they won't be doing anything. Yeah. There won't be any execution in this project, just decisions, and that doesn't get very far. What doesn't work is when you let people alone in the very beginning with a tool. So if you just say, hey, here's your login, go for it. Have fun. And the worst part would be, in my view, that you just take your old documentation and shit in, shit out principle, copy and paste it into the new tool, and then it will be, it's ruined from the beginning. It won't fly at all, because people look at it and say, oh, it's the same old stuff that I could ignore beforehand already.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, before we take a little break, let me mirror it back to our audience. Dear listeners, and watchers, what have you seen in your organization? Have you been on a journey like Regina does with her clients every day, implementing a tool for quality management, process management, knowledge management? What were your experiences? Let us know in the comments and elsewhere, the social drill. We'll leave you alone for a few seconds, and then we come back with the conclusion of this episode.
The wind will blow, but it's just changing, it's just changing, it's just changing. The wind will blow, but it's just changing.
And welcome back. Hey, Regina, very, very interesting conversation. I'm super happy that you were on the show. I learned a thing or two, especially my lack of Harry Potter knowledge, which I'm not honestly sure if I should try to fill that gap. But we can discuss that after the recording about this. But obviously, if somebody is now interested in learning more about not only Harry Potter, which I'm pretty sure you can answer perfectly, but also about quality management, knowledge management, process management, all those things, where can people reach you if they want to continue the conversation with you?
You can feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. My content is actually in German, but what you can do is check out our software, obviously, Q.Wiki. You can do a demo request on our website, which is available in German and English. Just type Q.Wiki into your browser and take a look if that might be a good fit for you. And when you speak to my colleagues, let them know that you listen to this podcast so we know where you came from. And yeah, thank you for inviting me, Roland.
Oh, hey, anytime. It was a pleasure on my side. And obviously, I will put the links into the show notes. So little public service announcements. If you're driving right now to work, don't take out the pen and pencil. You can read it in the show notes. But with that, dear audience, I hope you enjoyed the episode here. And if you do, well, we're all been trained monkeys, so do the usual stuff, liking and subscribing and all that stuff. But maybe more importantly, tell your 5 best friends about this little show that could, right? And if you're super generous and you want to support our little show, well, we do have a Patreon. Just take a look at patreon.com/what'syourbaseline and see if you can support us and get some extra perks that we put out there. And with that, I've been Roland Volt.
And I'm Regina Haar.
And we'll see you in the next one.